There is power in personal stories. It connects us, it empowers us, and it holds us accountable. It creates understanding and expands our perspective. This is Big in the Community with Jonathan James at the Kalamazoo Promise, a podcast aimed to highlight local leaders, collaborators, and innovators in the greater Kalamazoo community. All right, we are back with another episode of Big in the Community. It feels like it's been a while since we've been here. So I'm going to start us off with a quote like we usually do. Music can change the world because it can change people. And that's Bono, music artist. Lots of people know him. I don't really know him, but I know he's well known. Anyway, we want to bring somebody here who is big in the community. Our guest, Liz Youker, Vice President of Artistic Operations and Education from Kalamazoo Symphony Orchestra. Welcome.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah. So I'll just jump right into the first question. So how long have you been with Kalamazoo Symphony Orchestra, and what led you to your current role?
So I've been with KSO forever now, namely 21 years. It sounds crazy to say I've been working anywhere for 21 years. I don't feel that old. But it's been such a great organization for me, and it's been fun to be in a role that has been able to grow and change within the organization. So, it's been a great fit. I joined KSO staff in 2003, and that's also when I came to Kalamazoo. I had just finished actually a master's degree in cello performance at the University of Akron, which means I also had a bachelor's degree in cello performance. And I was not yet feeling like a master of performing on the cello. Turns out that you need a lot more than a degree to succeed in the world of performing. And the reality is that I always spent a lot more time working on other kinds of projects than in the practice room where I belonged if I wanted to be, focused as a performer. So I was accepting that when I was coming to Kalamazoo because I had found this amazing degree program that was in arts administration at Western Michigan University. And I've always had family in the Kalamazoo area. So I didn't grow up here. I grew up in Kansas.
Okay.
Yeah, eastern Kansas. And so had visited this area to visit family on vacations and, summertime and had memories from this area and still had relatives here. So I came not home to my home, but home to where my mom grew up in Dowagiac. And to be closer to some family and to start this new degree program. And shortly after I got started at Western, a part-time role opened up at the Symphony for education assistant. So came into that role, and I guess the rest is history, as you might say. I've been here for a long time. And now overseeing not just the education department, but the operations of KSO. So that means like all the programming that we do, I get to oversee and have a part in planning and implementing. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
From Kansas to Kalamazoo. That's
by
crazy.
way of Ohio.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I played cello when I was in...
You did?
Yeah, I started in 4th grade, I think.
Excellent.
I played until I didn't have to anymore. I did enjoy it, but I kind of was just like, well, I've been doing this for years, and I don't know, it just wasn't my place anymore, like where my interests were.
Sure.
So I kind of stopped out. But no, that's awesome that 21 years. So 2 decades plus. That's
plus
awesome.
A little, yeah. And going, so. Yeah.
Okay. Now, did you plan that? Did you think like, oh, I'm going to be here for all this time?
Oh, no. I was kind of at that point in the cycle of school where you think, okay, this is my next educational endeavor, my next degree program. I'm going to be here for a couple of years and then move on to what's next. I mean, I'm sure I had moved, every 2 or 3 years since graduating from high school at that point. And it just seemed normal to do something for a few years and move on. Yeah. But I've talked to a lot of people for whom Kalamazoo has similarly grown on them. Like you come here and you think, this is a stop on my journey, and then I'll go on to somewhere else, and then suddenly it's 20 years later and you've got a family and a job, and really, but also you have a community. The sense of community here is just incredible, and it's something that I've seen work not just on me but on a lot of people that I know here.
Yeah, it's funny because a lot of times it's the initial, like, to get you here as family, or you were from here, you came back, or you knew people, or you visited, that sort of thing. And then eventually you just kind of, once you find this community, you find these people, and you just like, you get comfortable. And
yeah,
this is where I'm supposed to be at.
Absolutely.
So you already answered some of the other questions. So like what brought you here, and different questions like that. But could you tell us more about Kalamazoo Symphony Orchestra, like the mission, the vision, and how it connects to, like, say, education or the community?
Absolutely. So the Kalamazoo Symphony Orchestra has been around now for over 100 years in Kalamazoo. In its current form, we were founded in 1921 as a nonprofit organization. Have a really interesting and long history before that I'm actually doing some research about right now, together with a historian at Western, to look at some of the earlier roots of KSO, because it's interesting, but we won't go into all that now. More soon. We'll be doing some presentations. KSO has been around for over 100 years. We are the third largest orchestra in the state of Michigan. And we perform about 6, what we call masterworks, like the big symphonic concerts, playing what you think of as like orchestral music. So about 6 of those a year, and then a whole host of programs in and around those. So quite busy both on the stage and also in the educational realm. So KSO also, much like Kalamazoo has an outsized art scene for a town of this size, KSO has an outsized commitment both to artistic endeavors and educational things for a symphony of this size. So when we look at peers across the nation, the scope and reach of our education programs is something we're incredibly proud of. So we have several different buckets of programming in the educational sphere. We support school music programs in every way we can, providing live performance assemblies. We send small ensembles into schools. We bring kids to the symphony for a big field trip when they're in elementary school. So we do a lot to try to support our existing school music curriculum. We think that the existence of school music curriculum is so important, not something we could ever replace, by just sending things in here and there. So we really do what we can to support that. So there's school day stuff. We do a lot in the community for families. We have a musical storybooks program, for instance. Like we go to area libraries and we combine stories with great music, and those are really engaging. And then another area that's really important to us is our after-school programming. So we run a couple of different. We have 3 different program sites during the school year, and then a summer program that brings all of those students together for 6 weeks. Offering free music instruction and ensemble music making. So it's about bringing the kids together, kind of sort of in a community of music making after school to do something really fun with their friends and offering some music instruction. So kind of those 3 buckets, and then many other things. I could go on for a while.
No, that's awesome. I mean, I remember I went, like, for one, I never had to like really pay for my instrument while I was in KPS. Got one for free, took it home. There's a couple times I left it on the bus. I don't know how. I always got yelled at really bad. But that happened, but just being able to do that, I think I had lessons at the Civic for free. I was able to do those on a scholarship. I did like the state competitions and different things like that, or being in a small ensemble. But it really introduced me to like a whole nother world of learning, or a whole different version of art. And then even now, like we went to the, what was his name? John Williams, the music of John Williams. We went to that concert, and that, you hear Star Wars and Indiana Jones and like all these different things. I'm like, this is like this, to go from, I'm just learning hot cross buttons to music like that it's amazing. And just to have the opportunity to even be exposed to that, for our youth to be able to do something like that is amazing. So
yeah, I'm a big advocate for school music programs, for community programs that really create accessible means for kids to get involved in music making. Because in my life, it's really, coming together through music to interact with other people. It's been huge for me. Like you, I started in my school music program. It was free. It was available. I grew up in a house. I'm the youngest of 7 kids. We didn't have a ton of resources. And having a free school music program was everything to me. I mean, that's how I got in the door to do it. Wouldn't have been possible to do outside of that. And so really proud that KPS maintains string programs starting in 4th grade for any student that wants to take part. So 4th and 5th grade kids can play strings. Getting into middle school, all kids can play strings, continue their strings, or take band. And then on into high school, it just gets bigger and they get to have it every day. It's incredible. And it's wonderful that the district has maintained that. I just want to compliment KPS.
Yeah, shout outs.
And so, so our after school programs are supplemental to that, kind of like sports programs, kids want to do more basketball or more athletic stuff after school. And we're there with the arts and music piece of it to carry that on. And just, for that door to be open, for the instruments to be available, so KPS provides those instruments to students. We have a partnership with Meyer Music for the after school, where if a kid doesn't have an instrument yet through KPS or otherwise, we're able to get that in their hands also for free. Just having that wide open door, and then the community that happens around music, to me, it's a huge part of my life. I play a lot of chamber music with friends. Sounds geeky or something, but it's so rewarding and it's so fulfilling, and it's a great way to be able to interact with other people. And so offering that opportunity, at every level, from we have kids as young as 3rd grade in our program and on up, who stay involved, sometimes through high school, go on, whether they're going to, our goal isn't always to create new professional musicians. We want people to get as far as they can. And we're so proud of our students who've gone off to college programs now to study music. Equally proud of the students who've gone on to many other things. They're taking advantage of their promise, but they've been part of this music community and know what that feels like. And then when you go to performances, it feels different, right? When you've played an instrument, when you're hearing the music and seeing the performers on stage, you have these insights, and I think it's even more interesting to hear. So
yeah, it's amazing how all these different moving pieces come together to form like a harmony. It's going to sound cheesy, but it'd be nice if that's how all our community organizations came together to form a harmonious support network, so to speak. I'm getting corny now.
I love the analogy. It's great. Perfect.
I brought it around. I was looking for what I wanted to say. Anyway, but why do you believe arts education is such a critical part of a thriving community?
Oh, for so many reasons. So I think the arts bring us together. Could be for different reasons. I think arts bring us together for celebration. Arts bring us together for commemoration. Arts bring us together to learn, just to be entertained. There are so many different reasons that we all seek it out, but it creates a landscape where, we can get out of our day-to-day thoughts and our business and all the things that keep us stressed out, and find connections to something bigger, find connections to each other, find connections to thoughts we can't access when we're, busy on our phones or, keyboards or whatever, the ones with the letters on them, not the musical keyboards. I just think, having the space to make art together or to enjoy art together can help us get to a different brain space where then we can interact with each other on another level. So for me, it can change the course of my entire day if I'm stressed out. If I just take 5 minutes and go sit down at the piano or get out my cello and play something, it can especially change my day, week, month if I get together with some friends and do something like that. It's just just like exercise or good nutrition.
Yeah, it's a form of self-care.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I read somewhere that to really know how well a community is thriving, you can look around. Is there artwork in the streets? Is it like, how are the buildings designed? Is it meant for it to be welcoming? Is there music? Are there arts? All those different things. It plays a role in the community health as well. Mm-hmm. Like, are there opportunities for people to be exposed to music, to be exposed to art? It all plays a part in it. Yeah.
Well, and it helps us grapple with challenging things too, mm-hmm. like art, making art, or being at performances, seeing art helps us process what's going on around us. Mm-hmm. And so, we live in turbulent times, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of challenging things have happened in the last decade, mm-hmm. For our youth especially. How do you unpack all the things that are happening around you? And sometimes we forget, as music gets older and older, obviously as a symphony orchestra, we play a lot of really old music. Mm-hmm. All of it was written in the context of times much like ours, mm-hmm. and the composers were often grappling with these really hard questions. Mm. And I think it helps us get out of the, obviously there's a lot of sort of, not, the word is not binary, but just like polarized mm-hmm. positions about things. Are you taking this position or are you taking that position? It's really hard for us to get in above all of that and look in and observe, what the issues are. And I think art can help us do that. Music can help us do that. What composers come up with, poets, spoken word, visual art, different ways to grapple with these concepts and get away from the arguments and get back to, like, I'm observing what's happening and I'm interpreting it in some way. And then I'm sharing that interpretation with other people, and we can share this space and we can all come away with some of the more important and deep insights that we need mm-hmm. to process the world we live in. Mm. And so I think whether it's challenging things or even exciting and happy things, like there's a function for that that's really important. Mm.
This is deep stuff. We're getting into some really deep conversation. Okay, so what motivates you in your work at the Symphony, and particularly when you're combining, the artistic and then also education? What motivates you?
What motivates me? Mm-hmm. So many things. I mean, the look on a kid's face when they get to hold an instrument for the first time. Mm-hmm. We do we call them instrument petting zoos, mm-hmm. Like animal petting zoos, except it's violins and cellos and horns and drums and things. That moment of discovery that you can see, mm-hmm. Something lights up in a kid's face. Or if we're at like an outdoor festival and somebody tries an instrument and they go around and try everything, but they come back to one, that clearly, like, they had an attachment to that, seeing that moment of discovery and just thinking about what can come next from that moment. That motivates me. The sense of community. I think we just had a concert last night with our Kalamazoo Kids in Tune students, and we had many different kinds of music on the program. And so it was really cool to me to see the way that the audience responded to each kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Often we go to a concert that's like, it's a classical concert or it's a jazz concert or it's a different thing. We had Middle Eastern music, we had jazz, we had pop tunes, we had orchestral music. And it's like each time we switched the genre, the audience was having a different audience experience. Mm. I'm probably going off track here, but I didn't play sports when I was a kid, and I have kids now and they're really athletic. So every time they pick up a new sport, I have to learn how to be a spectator at that sporting event. Like you go to basketball and everyone's like, box out. Right. And I was like, what does this mean? Baseball, you say something different. Wrestling, it's a whole nother vocabulary, Mm-hmm. And I was thinking of this last night at the Kids in Tune concert that, jazz is a different audience response. You clap after a solo, you're listening for somebody to do something really cool. And with our Orchestra Roa program, we focus on Middle Eastern music and engage with our immigrant students who are here with that background. And it's really fun at performances when a certain song begins and people just spontaneously start clapping as soon as that rhythm hits, everybody's clapping, mm-hmm. And that's another way an audience is accustomed to interacting with the music. And then with classical music, like we get really quiet because there's so much going on at so many different levels. and there's different ways that we experience that. And what I was loving is that we can all adjust immediately to each of those things, even in the context of one concert. So that motivates me because it's a sense of community and sharing of experience and sharing of backgrounds all in one room.
Yeah.
And I love it when that happens. I just love it when everybody's like, oh my gosh, this is how you experience this kind of thing. So just I'm motivated by that sense of community and togetherness that happens through performance. Very much.
No, that's awesome. You didn't get off track. It all came together. No, when we had the opportunity at the Promise, when the Gilmore Festival came to town or came back, I think it had been gone for a while since COVID, and then it finally started again. But we went to, I think it's Sphinx Virtuosi.
Oh yes, yeah, they're incredible.
Yeah, I believe it was them. It's like a very diverse group of musicians,
yes,
and very diverse music. And our producer went as well. But the music was so good, and like I actually went home. Like I don't normally listen to like classical or that kind of music very often, and I went home and was like, oh, I gotta find their stuff.
Yeah.
And they had two bass players that played together, and I was trying to find their music. Like I was blown away, and just to see so many different types of people in the same group, that was awesome too.
Yeah, top-notch performance. As a matter of fact, we are we're working toward getting a field trip together for our Kids in Tune students to go over to Detroit, because in is it February, end of January or early February, they're going to have the competition finals for the Sphinx competition.
Okay.
So if people aren't aware, the Sphinx organization uplifts Black and Latino musicians, and they have a competition every year for string players. And so I've been a couple times they have a convening right around that time, exploring diversity in music, and then also do this competition. And so we're hoping to bring our students to hear that competition, because it's an orchestra, and then the soloists come out. There's a lot of pressure, and it's you end up kind of rooting for somebody that you really want to see win. So it's a great experience. And I really admire the work that Sphinx is doing. Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah, they bring such energy. The virtuosi are really cool.
So this question kind of goes with this. So how do you approach balancing the artistic excellence of the symphony with the goal of accessibility and inclusivity in the community?
That's a wonderful question. That's really central to my work at the symphony. And so we approach this from so many different angles, and it's been really exciting to see where we've been able to go in the last few years and kind of what the future holds for us in programming. So the symphony engages both with national and international level guest artists, as well as amazing collaborators from right here in Kalamazoo. The talent we have here in the community is incredible. And we have the opportunity to collaborate in so many different ways. And so, when we talk about orchestral music as well, we're often thinking in our minds like symphony or orchestra music is Mozart, it's Beethoven, and it's old.
Right.
It's been around for a long time, and we can sometimes think of symphonies as almost museums, that are holding these ancient things, for us, that are really important, but they're not today's story, right? So we do a lot of work to balance our presentation of those pieces, which are important and basis of our art form, et cetera, with today's orchestral world. There are so many amazing composers that are doing today's work of interpreting the world around us and putting that into music that we hear on stage. So we've been commissioning a lot of music. Contracting with composers to say, we need a piece for this concert of this length. We've worked with a lot of really exciting, we call them living composers, just in contrast to so many who we perform who are not, right? But we're very committed to making sure that we're engaging with active voices and diverse voices of today's music scene. So we just actually 2 concerts ago performed a brand new piece. We were the first orchestra to get to perform this piece by James Lee III. Amazing composer. We did another one of his pieces a couple years ago. He came back with a piece that he'd written for Anthony McGill, who's principal clarinet of New York Philharmonic. Incredible player. So it was exciting to be able to, in terms of like putting together artistic excellence and, accessibility, engagement, diversity, all of these things. They're both artists of color who are just at the top of the field.
Yeah.
And so it was really exciting to be able to premiere that work and to have those artists as guests in our community. We are often combining, projects that engage our national artists with our amazing local folks. So we a couple of years ago, is it just a year and a half ago, we're working with our local author, Sonia Bernard-Hollins, prolific author, amazing storyteller, historian. We commissioned Sonia to write a story for, I mentioned musical storybooks earlier. We go to the libraries and combine books with music, but we'd never done an original one. And so we asked Sonia to write a story for us. And at the same time, we were working on a residency with Branford Marsalis, who's a composer and saxophone player. So we had asked him, how would you like to do some community engagement work? Like, do you want to do master classes? Do you want to come and visit our students at the after school program? Or would you like to write some music for this book? We did not expect him to pick that option.
Wow.
And it was so cool that he was like, I want to compose the music for this story. So now we have a really wonderful book called Jammin' in Kalamazoo by Sonia Bernard-Hollins and Sean Hollins, and with original music composed by Branford Marsalis. So we try to find ways to, bring together the local and the national, international level of our work. So we have a newer series at KSO called Sound Waves, where we're collaborating with different community groups. So this year we had one in collaboration with KNAC, the Kalamazoo Nonprofit Advocacy Coalition. That's at the old First Baptist Church. So we were bringing, kind of highlighting what's happening with that building, exciting renovations, cool space for community collaborations. Great concert there. We had a collaboration with Wellspring Dance Company. The next one coming up is in collaboration with Dr. Candace Lavender and a roster of community artists, which is it's called Symphonic Beats, and it's celebrating hip hop culture. So we're looking at different ways to bring in, do collaborations across genres, and to work with some of our just fabulous community artists.
That's awesome to go from the local level to the national, world renowned level. It's amazing that you can do that, and to bring people and say, hey, you should be part of what we're doing here. That's amazing. So thank you for the work that you're doing.
Yeah.
It's powerful stuff. So this is our vision and transformation section of questions. If you could change one thing about Kalamazoo, what would it be?
At the risk of having tunnel vision, I would just say I want programs like Kids in Tune and Orchestra Roa and other arts things to be available like citywide. So we're able to serve about 125 students through Kids in Tune, about 25 through Orchestra Roa. And we always wish that we could just make that happen.
Just everywhere.
And like have a site in every neighborhood in Kalamazoo. That's like internal to my work. I think community wide, I think just collaboration across sectors, better understanding of the work that's happening in all different corners. We got such a great glimpse of this through Leadership Kalamazoo.
Yeah,
Jonathan and I being alum of this best class ever, 2024. It was just, to me, really impactful to get a deeper glimpse into things that happen in other sectors, because I'm pretty focused on nonprofit work and arts work and youth development. Those are my niches. But understanding the power of collaborations that happen more broadly across sectors. Just the more of that we can do, the better.
Yeah. Okay. That would be awesome. I mean, if it was in every neighborhood, or at least it would be awesome if it was at least like every core neighborhood association, there was a space for that.
Yeah.
And then just keep growing from there. What's your vision for the KSO? Just as far as like community impact, education, where you see it going?
Yeah, I think, we've been working really hard to make sure that our programming reflects a real interest in things that are happening all across our community. And I think the future, that's the future of our work, that we continue to bring in, as we said, national, international level artists and work, and, continue those efforts, with commissions at every level as well. But to be of and for Kalamazoo is our goal. We are the Kalamazoo Symphony Orchestra. So we're not trying to be the New York Philharmonic. We are committed to our musicians and the highest level of artistry and engagement that we have. I mean, it's incredible that we have this many Kalamazoo and regional and beyond people that come here to play in our orchestra, and they're wonderful. And so connecting them with our community, being on the administrative side of things, I'm always thinking about, like, how do we make sure that, every concert hall, we're reaching beyond, we're doing everything we can to bring in everybody that might be interested and to connect with people and to respond to what we hear people are interested in. So I think when you talk about community engagement, it isn't just for us, how many people can we get to come into our halls? It's how are we, as the Kalamazoo Symphony, musicians, staff, board members, others, engaged in everything else happening in the community, like with Leadership Kalamazoo, really looking out and beyond our own organization, volunteering, being part of other people's events. How can the KSO support events that are happening?
Yeah.
If there's a celebration going on, is there music that we can be involved in for that? Or, are there different ways? I think we're always talking about what community engagement means, and not just how can we engage more people to come to us, but how can we be directly reaching out and learning more and being part of, we're engaging with the community. So we try to get out beyond our usual large concert halls, and we do a lot of small ensemble work here and there and everywhere. And I think our future is to keep going in that direction and continue these amazing collaborations at every level.
I'm taking notes. So what are some of your favorite things about working in Kalamazoo?
So, really the sense of community, the availability of so many different amazing arts opportunities and events. I mean, any given day, the calendar is so full, you can't do it all, right? Really enjoy, we've got some great food here. We've got some good coffee here. Just things that really make a community enjoyable. I'm a mother of three. So my husband and I are busy raising our 3 kids. And absolutely have to say that the Kalamazoo Promise is a pretty amazing part of living in Kalamazoo. So we have currently 2 kids in KPS and 1 coming up to kindergarten next year. So we really feel like that's a pretty big deal. Makes Kalamazoo a pretty special place as well. Not just that we have the Kalamazoo Promise, but that we have amazing schools too.
Yeah.
So my 2 oldest went through North Glade, which is a Montessori-based public elementary.
That's where I went.
You went to North Glade?
Before they were a Montessori school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Just incredible. There's such a variety within KPS of opportunities for kids. A lot of discussion about El Sol Elementary, maybe becoming a K through 8. The schools, the community, the Promise, all these things make Kalamazoo incredibly unique. So
we could go on and on. Okay, so looking back over the last 21 years, do you have a favorite moment or a favorite performance, just something that stands out to you? It doesn't have to be a performance. It could be anything over that time.
Sure. Let me think about this just for a second. There are so many.
Sorry.
don't want to waste my...
It's a big question.
Yeah, gosh. Let me think about this.
And we can come back to it too.
That's okay. I think, so many things stand out. Some really just stellar performances. One thing I'll mention, just nobody would look at our time during COVID as our like strongest artistic output. However, the perseverance and what we learned in terms of what we could, the needs that we could meet for people. So some of the things that I think were most impactful are like the ways that we were able to keep connecting with people through music, even when we weren't together. So I'm thinking of of some of the projects we did and recorded and put out during COVID. Again, artistically, maybe not the most. I mean, it's just a challenge, right? To have, we did some incredible things with each of the musicians recording their own part, and then our conductor actually put them all together. Did the production to get all the parts lined up and put together. Wow. Even our junior symphony and even Kids in Tune were doing things like that at that time. So just the perseverance, I guess, is an impactful memory during that long span of time. Wow. So, yeah, beautiful performances. I remember productions, like we did one, a production called Ellis Island, which was celebrating immigration and all the folks that came through Ellis Island. It's a piece by Peter Boyer. Beautiful music, and we actually collaborated with the WMU Theater Department to put on both theatrical and musical production. That was a cool piece. But just so many. It's hard to pin down one performance. It's funny. I should have thought back through my performance catalog in my head a little bit.
It's a lot. Sorry. If you had a golden nugget of wisdom that you wanted to share with someone else who wanted to do a similar role or work in the same sort of space, what would that nugget of wisdom be?
I think that nugget of wisdom would be that you always need to check in ways with the community. Like whenever you're coming up with a great idea, it's one thing to come up with it from within and then take it out to the community versus start on the other side of that and have conversations. Projects are always so much richer and more impactful when we start in the other direction. So we've learned a lot about that in terms of collaboration and developing projects. Sometimes it feels safer to have a plan and then invite people into the plan, or, have a small role in it, or can you do this part here or add something here? And it's just way more fun and rich and impactful in the long term if you start that collaboration first. So.
Okay. No, I'm still taking notes. It's amazing to see, like, I guess an organization like KSO that's been around for so long, to think, oh, we should get the community's opinion or their input first. It's kind of inspirational to think like, oh, I don't want to say older organization, but one that's been around for 100 years, to be innovative and to not just be like, oh, this is how we do things and this is how we're always going to do things. It kind of brings, it brings hope to things moving forward. How can other people get involved in what KSO is doing and support their mission?
Oh, sure. There are so many ways. Definitely check out all that we're offering and know that if big symphonic concerts aren't your thing, we have so many other options. So come out and hear us. We have youth programs, so we offer a lot of employment for our youth development staff and musicians that are looking to work with young people. Definitely roles are out there, volunteer opportunities, and I think just ways to engage with artwork, old and new, that can really bring people together. So I think there's the opportunity to get a group of folks together and come and experience a concert and then have a chat about it afterward. Or, so many ways, whether through attending, through becoming, part of one of our programs, or we love to hear from people that want to volunteer or get involved in other ways.
Is there anything else that you want to share? Specifically like Kids in Tune or Orchestra Row? Is there anything else you want to share about those?
One of our favorite things with Kalamazoo Kids in Tune is that we really are focused on building community, and that involves families as well. And so coming up is going to be Family February. That's a time when we invite parents to get involved musically if they want. A lot of parents have, some history with instruments, and we like to give them an opportunity to reconnect, or to just learn more about the learning process that their kids are going through. And we have a lot of different events that month, but we'll have a big celebration concert. And I should have the date on the tip of my tongue, but it's toward the end of February, and we would love the community to come out and join us for that.
Okay. So. We can put a link.
Yeah. KSO has a community events page for free community events, which are like our musical storybooks and a lot of other offerings, some chamber music concerts and things like that. And then definitely all of our Kids in Tune things. And so that event will be on that page along with other great stuff that you can catch.
Nice.
So, and then, February 7th is going to be awesome. That is the Symphonic Beats hip hop concert that I mentioned. That is at Kalamazoo Central High School on February 7th at 7:30. And I think it's going to be just a really fun and awesome and unique collaboration. So I hope people don't miss that.
That's awesome. I'm looking forward to it. Do you have any questions for us? And I say us because he might not want to, but he'll get on the microphone if he has to. Or our wonderful intern who's also in the space as well.
You guys are doing a great job with this podcast. I think it's such a great thing, and I appreciate being invited. Question for you guys. I would like to just kind of turn it around and ask you, what inspires you to keep doing the work that you do, all of you?
I got it. Okay. I think what inspires, at least I'll say for me, since I'm speaking for myself, I just think there's so many things I've learned about that I had no idea were going on in Kalamazoo. And if I had those opportunities, how different things could be. I'm still learning things. 34 years old. I've been here in Kalamazoo since second grade, and I'm still like, what? We're doing that? And just didn't know about it. So there's so many things. I just want to share those with other people. And then also just the people that I've met along the way, especially like Leadership Kalamazoo, just meeting all these people, having this network. I want to help share that with other people too. Just like giving away free game. I mean, it's crazy how much, like, I never knew how influential like having a network would be. The difference that, community resources make. And just, I don't even know how much I don't know yet about Kalamazoo community. Right. I'm sure, like, I'm still meeting people that I'm like, what, you've been here for like years and you're doing this work. This is amazing. I didn't know about it.
Yeah.
And helping bridge those gaps so that everyone at least has an opportunity to learn about them. So
it's awesome.
Yeah.
Keep it up. It's great.
Will do. I think that's our time. So I'm just going to close with an inspirational quote. Music has the power to transform individuals and communities. Every note we play and every child we teach brings us closer to a more connected and inspired world.